Now that we've learned how to draw and identify angles in standard position and know how to draw positive angles and negative angles, let's take a look at what coterminal angles are. And as the term implies, coterminal angles are simply angles that share the same terminal side. So for example, if I have an angle with the initial side right here and the terminal side right here, this angle can be formed by rotating my terminal side counterclockwise to form angle alpha. So the little Greek letter A right here is alpha. It's another Greek letter apart from theta that is used to describe the measure of an angle. So angle alpha is a positive angle with the same terminal side as another angle. Now, the same exact angle can be formed if I rotate the other way, if I rotate clockwise instead of counterclockwise. If I go clockwise this way, okay, angle beta is another angle that is formed, but notice that both angles share the same terminal side. Angle alpha is positive, angle beta is negative. An example of that would be the measure of angle 210 degrees and the measure of angle negative 150 degrees is going to end at the same terminal side. Starting with the same initial side, if I go counterclockwise 210 degrees, that's the same angle that would be formed if I go clockwise negative 150 degrees. So one is a positive angle, one is a negative angle, but they share the same initial and terminal side. They're called coterminal angles. We could also have two positive angles that are coterminal or two negative angles that are coterminal. So for example, if we look at the second diagram, here's my initial side and here is my terminal side. This angle can be formed by rotating counterclockwise to form angle alpha. That would be the measure of that angle, alpha. But I could do the same thing. So if I open it up to the degree of alpha, but from there I spin one full circle around, I'm going to end up at the same spot. And so this angle, which is more than 360 degrees, we call angle beta, also shares the same terminal side as angle alpha. So both of these are positive angles because I am going counterclockwise, but they share the same terminal and initial side. We call them coterminal angles. And if I spin around one more time from wherever I left off in angle beta and go one more circle, again I end up at the same spot and I can make another coterminal angle. So there are many, many coterminal angles that can be formed just simply by going one more circle, because we know that when we go a full circle, we end up where we start. And so let's look at an example. We want to determine two coterminal angles, one positive and one negative for each of these angles. So let's start with the first one, 80 degrees. Let's sketch out where that would be, what that would look like. I've got my initial side on the positive x-axis, vertex at the origin, that's my initial side. And then I'm going to take my terminal side and I'm going to rotate counterclockwise. So 80 degrees, I know this is 90, half of 90 is 45, so 80 degrees will probably be somewhere over here. And the measure of this angle that is formed is 80 degrees. That's the angle. Now, if I want to find a coterminal angle, one positive, one negative. So let's start with the positive one. Positive angle means that I have to go counterclockwise as well. So I'm going to go here, and then instead of stopping here, which would just be 80 degrees, I'm going to go around in one full circle. Okay, so if I start at 80 degrees and I go around once in a circle, I'm going to end right back up at where I started at 80 degrees. So to find the positive coterminal angle, all we have to do is take my 80 degrees and add 360. Go around once and we end up at the same spot. So that's going to give me 440 degrees. 440 degrees would share the same terminal side as 80 degrees. Now, if I want to find a negative coterminal angle, I'm going to do this in green. Negative coterminal angle. Okay. Negative means I have to go counterclockwise, right? So I'm going to start at, negative means I have to go clockwise, So I'm going to start at where my 80 degree angle is, which is right here. And if I start here and I want to end up at the same spot going clockwise, all I have to do is go this way in one circle, and then I would land back at the same spot. So if I take 80 degrees and I subtract 360, so go one full circle in the clockwise direction, I would end up at the same spot. So that's going to give me negative 280 degrees. That would be a negative coterminal angle. And negative 280 degrees is simply just from here at the initial side, negative 280 degrees. 270 plus 10 more, negative 280 degrees. And I can get that very easily by just subtracting 360 degrees. Okay, so positive and negative coterminal angles are very easy to find. To find a positive coterminal angle, you add 360 from your initial angle. And then to find a negative coterminal angle, you just subtract 360 to make sure that you have a negative until you get to a negative. And so let's take a look at the next one. Negative 165 degrees. So here is my initial side. And then because it's a negative angle, I have to rotate clockwise this way. Okay, 90. Now, negative 165, that's 15 away from 180. So about here. It won't let me draw it. So I'm just gonna do it by hand about here. That is my angle. That is negative 165 degrees, 15 degrees away from negative 180. And so to find a positive coterminal angle, we're just going to take negative 165, start where my angle is, and add 360. So go around once in the positive direction. So I'm going to go from here around once, plus 360, and then I'll end up at the same spot. And so that's going to give me 195 degrees. That would be the positive coterminal angle. And if we start at the initial side, this is 180 right here. That would be positive 195 degrees. 180 plus 15 more. Okay, and then a negative coterminal angle. Again, I'm going to start with my angle. And now instead of going around counterclockwise, now I'm going to go around clockwise. So if I start at my angle and I go clockwise in one full circle, again I'm going to end up at this exact same terminal side, exact same spot. So subtract 360, And that will end up at negative 525 degrees would be a negative coterminal angle. So in the exercises that you have to do for delta math, you don't have to draw it. It looks something like this. They ask you to find an angle that is coterminal to negative 242 degrees, where theta, the angle that you're looking for, has to be less than 360, but greater than or equal to 0 degrees. So it's got to be a positive angle between 0 and 360 degrees. And we know how to find positive coterminal angles, right? We just keep going around counterclockwise, one full circle, another full circle. So if I start with negative 242 degrees and I go around in one full circle, that would land me at exactly the same spot one rotation later. And that's going to give me 118 degrees positive. So this is a coterminal angle to negative 242 degrees, and it is between 0 and 360 degrees. And this is a positive coterminal angle. Now, the problem doesn't ask us to find another one, but if I want to find another coterminal angle that's positive, all I have to do is go around one more time. So if I add another 360 degrees, 478 degrees is also another positive coterminal angle to 118 and negative 242. So positive coterminal angle, you just add 360 to whatever your angle is. And then negative coterminal angle, you just subtract 360. Positive coterminal angle, you add 360 until you get to a positive. Negative coterminal angle, you subtract 360 until you get to a negative.